Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. This episode, good friend of mine calling us in from northern Germany. I was thinking, is it Hamburg? I was going to guess, but it's probably some small village I'd never heard of. Mario Lanzarotti. Mario, my friend, great to have you on the show today.
Otis, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Camden. Great to see you as well. And the town that you're referring to is called Hanover. It's an hour and a half south of Hamburg, and it's for German references. It's not a small city. It has about like 400,000 inhabitants, so it's pretty cozy, but also relatively international for German standards.
Mhm. I was gonna say I actually know the name from our time in Germany, so that's a good sign for you.
Ah, okay.
So, Mario, what's first off, I always like to know what's the why that drove you to become an entrepreneur, and not only want to get into what you're doing yet, but just what was that catalyst, man, that kicked you off?
Well, I've always wanted to change the world, but I wasn't much of a religious person. So I thought, there's only two kinds of people that change the world. It's entrepreneurs, or it's some sort of a missionary person, because politicians, you know about those people. You can't really trust them. But yeah, it all started with me crashing in my corporate career in Germany. I was becoming a pilot, and I became severely depressed, chronic back pain at 22 years old, and came close to suicide. And this was all because I was following a career, pretty much a life, you could say, that wasn't authentically mine. I was just trying to live up to an expectation of what I thought it means to be a successful man in Germany. Get a job with a high status, aka that other people say is a respectable job that pays you good money and you can do relatively quickly. So I decided to become a pilot, but I never really explored, is this authentically me? Is this what makes me happy? Is it what fills my heart up? And so I crashed, quite literally. And because I was also raised in the belief of, if you're a man, don't talk about your feelings, don't show weakness. So I didn't tell anyone what was going on. I just used code word stress, as driven people like to say. They don't like to say I'm afraid. They like to say I'm stressed. And so I said, yeah, I'm just so stressed. It's just so much to do. I said it's normal. And I was eating everything up, and I was going down this dark path. And then one day, by God's will, I came across Tony Robbins on YouTube. And you have to understand, like, this was 11 years ago in Germany. Back then, first of all, no one knew Tony Robbins, and second, whoever saw someone like Tony Robbins say, "Oh, that's a cult leader. That's that guy, American cult leader. You can't trust him. He wants to eat your babies. Just run the other way." And I was like, oh, whatever, I'm so desperate right now. I'll just take anything. And I was just listening to him talking about mindset and how you can change your life by changing your mindset. I was like, what the hell is a mindset? I haven't even heard of that term. But I kept on listening and kept on listening. And something inside of me felt so good. I was like, wow, this makes actually a lot of sense. And I'm really enjoying this. And then I came across Les Brown, who was just going about, how it's possible, you can change your life, you can do it, And I started listening to these messages every single day. As soon as I had a free moment, I would listen to them, and something inside of me started to grow. And the thing that started to grow inside of me was the courage to say, I'm really unhappy here. This is not me. I want to do something else with my life. And eventually I had the courage to quit. And then, it was quite a challenging path after that, but that was the beginning of my personal growth and healing journey. And at that point, I said, one day I will be a coach and a speaker, and I will help people live their dreams. That was the moment when everything began.
Where did you make that connection from the inspiration to the actual coach aspect of it? Because I think a lot of people would take that entrepreneurism that you were talking about to go change the world, and they might pursue a business venture. What led you more to the leadership and to the coach side of things?
Well, that's a great point because I did exactly that. I went down the route of, because after that, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to become a coach now. I was like, one day, but I was shit scared to go after that. I was even so scared to talk about that because in Germany, I mean, still today, coaching is like, okay, what is that? It's like, you don't have a psychology degree. What are you doing there? Is that even legal? Are you sure this is, can you make a living with that? So it's still a little bit of like a, gray area. But back then, you don't even talk about that stuff. So I had it going internally for me. But then I said, okay, I'm going to do it one day. In the meantime, I'm going to go study business. I'm going to study fashion business. So I then studied fashion business in Berlin. I did, because I was a very hands-on kind of person. I wanted to work with founders, and then I worked with one of the founders in Berlin that was teaching there, and he had a consulting agency, and he took me under his wing. And then he said, here's a big project, a luxury exhibition for an entire weekend, and with a gala night followed with like celebrities and all kinds of stuff. We need a transportation service. Here, talk to Porsche and Audi. And I'm like, that's boring. Why don't we do something new? Have you ever heard of this company called Uber? And he was like, what? What the hell is Uber? And it's like, yeah, they do this cool thing. And I'm not sure if you know this, but Uber started out as a luxury shuttle service. They had the biggest fleet and, all these amazing cars. So I reached out to them and said, hey guys, we're doing this amazing luxury exhibition with all these mega brands and then a gala night. How about you sponsor free rides for all of the participants? And they were like, okay, sure. And we talked, and then eventually they ended up sponsoring free rides, which amounted to, I think, like 35,000 euros for that. And I was a student, but I had big balls, or more, I had a big mouth. And my then boss was so amazed by this. He's like, wow, you're a student, you made this happen. I want you to become my business partner. So he made me a partner. And then, my learning process just accelerated massively. And then he went off to Doha, to Qatar, to start a company there. And he was like, hey, I want you to come with me. And I'm like, I don't like that, because in the back of my mind, I was like, remember your dream. You want to be a coach and a speaker. Where are all the big people in the world? USA. Where's Tony Robbins? USA. You got to go to the USA. So during my studies, my overseas semester, I decided to go to New York, because I was like, okay, I got to be in New York. And then once I landed in New York, I was studying. And again, we had to find an internship. So I did the same thing I did in Berlin. I looked for an early founder who had just started something. And I found my then business partner again, who hired me as an intern. And I said, hey, dude, look, this is what I did in Berlin. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to give you everything I had, and I can do this, but I want you to make me your co-founder. And he's like, okay, young man, hold your horses. Yeah, you talk a lot, but let's see if you actually have something behind that. And then I did, and then he said, okay, I like what you're doing. So he made me his business partner. And then the classical hustle path, I worked next to my studies. I didn't have any money. I didn't make any money from it. I didn't even have a contract. I remember coming back, telling my parents, excited all about it. And my father, German, he's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. So, yeah, but show me your contract that you got by being a business partner. This has to be in order. I'm like, yeah, I'll send it to you. It's like, okay. So he asked me again, yeah, I'm just so busy right now. The truth was I had nothing more but a handshake, not even an email agreement, nothing. But I had faith and I trusted. And, it all worked out. We ended up selling the company a couple of years later, after I'd been living in New York for 3.5 years. And all this time while in New York, I built my speaking career. I started hosting workshops for students for free, left and right. I started taking on coaching clients, telling them, I've never done this, but I've studied so much about this. I can do this. Let me be, I want you to be my guinea pig, and I'll do it for free. And I did that with like 3-4 people. It worked out really well. And eventually I started taking on paid clients. So that's how I got started.
No, that's awesome. And I'm snickering, laughing, probably at you, because what I was hearing was you stopped being a pilot because that wasn't that career field wasn't it. But then I thought it was really what I found ironic in your story was you still had to go into school to get to where you were. It's funny how we can, certain parts of our it's not truly anatomy, but I'll use the metaphor of anatomy and how we're brought up. Some of those things you just can't get rid of, and you just have to overcome it. And that's what you did. Like you said, Berlin. Yeah, you were in Berlin studying in fashion. So guess what? You're back in school. And then you went to New York and you were in school, but all with this vision to become a coach. But what I didn't hear, and this is where I really find it ironic, was you never really went to a coaching certification, or did you?
Oh, I did lots of them.
You did that too.
Yeah. That all came while I was in New York, running my business. And then as I came towards the end, so during my time, I went to lots of coaching seminars where I was coached by others. So that was the first time where I was actually exposed to world-class coaches. And I learned a lot from them. And then I sucked it up from like YouTube training courses online, did lots of that stuff. And then and eventually I got trained and certified in different coaching areas, in NLP and hypnotherapy and executive coaching in Cape Town. I went to a school there. So I did all of those things. But to be honest with you, I didn't really learn much because it was more of a confirmation. Because like what I did, I find that, and I see that a lot with coaching nowadays, a lot of coaches, they use a certification as an excuse. They're like, hey, look, I've done this NLP course for 2 weeks and now I'm a certified coach, pay me $5,000 or $10,000. I'm like, you don't walk the talk, my friend. You've never been down there. You don't know what it's like to struggle deeply with mental health. You don't know what it's like to build your business from nothing. You don't know what it's like to market yourself when you have no budget. You don't know what it's like to go as a non-native English speaker. English is my third language. I built this motherfucker. I speak a word of English when I was in Germany, but I made a decision. I was like, I want to be a speaker. I want to be a coach. And the language that I use for that is English. So I'm going to train myself. I'm going to mold myself into making English my first language. And today I speak English most of the time. I dream English. But I was born a German native speaker and an Italian native speaker. So I had to craft myself into being this kind of persona. And I still do it. And there's still elements to it. So for me, it's important to walk the talk, to be real, to be authentic. And certifications and trainings are important. But if you use them as like the thing, I think it's more important to really embrace what you're trying to bring to the world.
I've seen, when I particularly in the veterans or soon to be veterans that I coach, I see that chasing the next certification or the degree, or almost as an excuse, not as a validation, but as an excuse of, well, I can't do this or I can't do that because I got to get this certification.
Why didn't I get that promotion? It's because I don't have the certification yet. Yeah. You're not actually looking at, what your work is, or, like things you were talking about. One of the key lessons I hope people caught in your story, Mario, is when you went to these new bosses that you were wanting to have as partners, you went to them and said, here's the value I'm bringing. Exactly. Here's what I can do for you. It's not hey, look, I have a certification. It's, I will do this for your company. I will increase sales by X%. I can come in like that. And people have so much trouble breaking out of that. I had it in my notes, Dad, as the degree trap, or like certification trap, where it's like, you just got to keep getting the next one because then you'll get that promotion. But in reality, they're not looking for the person who's going to keep getting certifications. They're looking for the person who's going to show initiative in the actual business.
Yeah, big time. And you know what it is, what I find? Because people are afraid to say I'm ready. Because when you say I'm ready, there comes a great deal of responsibility with that. Because then you got to stand up and say, I own this. I went out when I started coaching people and I told them to their face, it's like, I don't have a certification. I have never done this. I didn't go to school. So I didn't make it a secret. I said, but I know deep down I can help you. And if you allow me to, and here's what I ask in return, your feedback, your testimonial, I think we can create something amazing. And it worked every single time. But I took the responsibility because yes, there's been sessions where I would, do certain things and it would not lead anywhere. And I would show, hey, bam, bam, and yeah, we're going to do this. And then it didn't happen. I'm like, okay, so I'm learning from this. I was talking shit, but it was a great learning lesson, and all of that leads to the one thing. And I think people are so afraid nowadays to make a mistake, because Osho said that the greatest fear in life is the opinion of other people. Because what will people say about you if you lean out of the window and all of a sudden what you said is going to happen or you're going to do is not going to happen? Oh my God, then you're a fraud. They found out that I'm finally a fraud. Okay, own it. So what? You can go from fraud to superstar. It's possible. Many people have done it.
Yeah, I always laugh at that because it just comes up so much, that worrying about what somebody else thinks and never even asking them what they think.
Yeah.
And to include like your closest friends. And I see that so much with clients and other folks. It's just like, hey, come on, man. I mean, did you ask them what they thought of what you were doing, or your presentation, or the concept that you want to put together for this business? No, I never asked them. But what if they don't like it? What if they think it's stupid? I'll let you ask them and find out for sure, and then you can make a decision of whether or not it matters what they
Right.
think.
Right.
That's, to me, that is one of the most amazing things that we do. And I would not even say, I was going to say in our society, but I think this has been going on. This is a human nature thing, because
Yeah.
human nature, you want to be inclusive, you want to be included, you want to, hey, everybody likes me, and which, Aristotle says a friend to
Right.
all is a friend to none. But if you live in that sort of world where you're trying to please everybody, you please no one, right? To include yourself. And I think that's, even going back to your story at the beginning, that's what you were doing. That was the life you were pursuing, was what you believed others wanted you to do. And man, that's a difficult place to live for any length of time, let alone just taking like one slice and saying, hey, I want to do this in business, or I want to do this thing, but I'm not going to do it because I'm worried about what Bob and Joe and Fred think about what I might do. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the monkey brain doesn't really want to get kicked out of the campground, and that's really engraved in the back of our mind. And I think it's interesting because then, as cultures develop and society has developed over years, there's kind of tighter and there's looser cultures for that type of thing. And I think it's like kind of ironic because we're having this conversation, and if you go by a measurement, I'm nerded out on this a little bit because I read an economic thing on it, but if you go off a measurement of like tight and loose cultures, like how tolerant they are of change inside of their culture, Germany and the US are actually super high on the list as far as countries in the world go. The US, the joke there was that it's almost the cultural norm is to throw off the cultural norm, that you have to break out of something, you have to go do your own thing, otherwise that's like the opposite of what people want. And so I think that's a really interesting thing of like wanting to balance this aspect of the lizard brain, of course, in the back that wants you to keep connected to your society, but also wanting to go find your own way forward. I think that's a really interesting thing that you've gone through, Mario.
Yeah. And I find it's a blessing, because it's brought me to where I am today. And today, my brand is called the Freedom Architect. It's called Freedom Architect for a very good reason, because I find that the biggest block to entrepreneurial success is pursuing a path that is not authentically yours. And you can see it in the way that people market themselves. There's how many business leaders are there that are forcing themselves to be on social media? I gotta be there. It's like everyone's on social media. I gotta be there. And then what are the results? What's the success that you create out of forcing yourself to being on there? It's usually not great, and it affects your mental health. It slows you down in other areas, and it has you miss out on looking at how can I maximize what I do best? Where is my zone of genius? But in the meantime, you keep running after the next trend and try to force yourself into that. And so there's no freedom. Freedom is, I love being with people, Okay, so that's what I love. Let me stick to that. Let me honor that. Now, how can I how can I be smart about that and still find ways to honor that and make that happen? Okay, I could partner up with a company. Okay, I could partner up with I could create a referral-based business, and I could focus on high executive clients, so I can raise my fees, and I can only work with a few handful of people and not worry about social media. By the way, this is my strategy that I'm pursuing at the moment. So I'm sharing that because, quite frankly, I'm okay with social media. It's not that I'm hating it, but I don't see myself as like, hey, TikTok, here, music, play that, and then do like 10 videos a day. It's like, I do a little bit of that, and sometimes it's enjoyable, but to a very limited degree, because that's not me. And and also in if we look at it in a personal realm, personal relationship realm with business leaders and entrepreneurs, what do most business leaders do with their emotions? Yeah, how are things? Good. And how are you? Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little stressed, And as I said earlier, stress is code word for I'm afraid. Why are you stressed? Because you're afraid something is not going to work out the way you think it should work out. It's going against your own expectation. But most of us business leaders, we don't talk about that stuff. Loneliness is rampant in the business realm. It's like, I haven't met a business leader who is not dealing with loneliness. But how many do you know that openly talk about that? Very, very few. So again, you are now constraining yourself and removing freedom. And why do business leaders start their own business? Because they want to be free. Because otherwise you could just work for someone who will give you a job, and you could accept that and be happy and be free there. But business leaders don't want that. That's why they start their own business. So this journey of me living a very inauthentic life has blessed me with so many insights and allowed me to do what I'm doing today. And I can spot it right away when a business leader just opens his or her mouth. Yeah, I have to work really hard. Why do you have to work hard? Who says that? Well, but that's just the way you do it. Who says that? Oh, you read it in a book.
Everybody says that, right?
Exactly. Why? I know. One of my clients, she works 20 hours a week, and that's it. And she makes to around 10K, and she's happy as ever. Travels around, takes care of herself. She's so super happy. She loves her business. She didn't go down the line of I gotta work hard,
Oh, that's great, and I love the authenticity. Actually, Camden and I were talking about that yesterday, and Camden's a friend and business mentor, Mr. Faraji. You were saying, Camden, he told you he smells it when people aren't being authentic. So I can, yeah. And Mr. Faraji, I'll let Camden tell you the rest of that story. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's he's a self-made man, came over from Iran in the 80s, if I remember right, and started as a taxi driver, bought a restaurant, like did the whole entrepreneur growth American dream thing, and now has this beautiful home in San Diego and it's really successful. But that's one of the things he always talks about when you start talking business with him is, well, really there's two things. One is you can tell when somebody's not being authentic. You can smell it on him. And the other thing that he says you can always smell is the desperation. That and actually I think it would be interesting to continue that conversation from yesterday's podcast around desperation, because I think this is a really interesting thing. We were talking about it as being two sides of the same coin, that to be an entrepreneur, to go out and follow your own dream, to create your own path, all that kind of stuff, you have to have some element of like a hunger to it. You got to have something that you're driving towards. But then also the other side of that is you don't want to reach that point of like desperation. And and this is where the conversation went yesterday of, I bet a lot more people, like entrepreneurs specifically, would say they're desperate. They're not going to go out and tell anybody, like the internal check is I'm pretty desperate right now. I need this win. But it's also knowing that you can't, portray that desperation to people because, people like Mr. Faraji can smell it on you. So how do you balance that coin there of those two sides?
That's a great question. That's a great topic. So I've been in that place. I've been in that place a couple months ago, where things were not moving forward the way that I wanted them to move forward, and I was losing my drive. I was losing motivation, and I was checking in on myself. I was like, I've never experienced that, you know, in the realm of working in as a coach and a speaker, because I love this. This is me. This is absolutely me. So this was a new thing. I was like, this is strange. How is that happening? And then I checked in with myself, and it's like, why am I being desperate here? Okay, because I tell myself that by now I should be much farther ahead. Why do I tell myself that? Okay, who am I trying to impress? Who am I trying to prove something to? Okay, my family, my friends. Okay, and then I was like, what am I not saying to them? I'm not saying to them that I feel desperate at the moment. I'm not saying to them that right now things are not working out the way I want it to work out, and I'm just fucking frustrated. And in that journey, I feel alone because I'm scared to say something. So what I did is I turned around and I went to my family and friends, and it was scary. But I took the courage to open up more and more. I had a couple cries and hugs and embraces, and what helped me was to hear it saying, like, you don't have to prove anything to us. We love you just the way you are. You don't need to be this hyper successful super coach like Tony Robbins. We don't care about that. If that works out for you, cool. If not, cool. We still love you. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So there's still some of those old patterns working in me that's saying you're only enough once you're at this level. And the moment I brought that to my awareness, and the moment I voiced it, desperation, gone, you know. Now I'm relaxed, you know, and it shows immediately in the conversation with people, because it was like, you know, hey, can I coach you? Do you want to be my client? Kind of energy, you know. I didn't say those words, but it was like this. And now I'm just like, hey, what do you think? Do you love the conversation? I'm having fun. Do you? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to explore something? But if not, totally cool. And 9 times out of 10, people are like, I love it. Let's explore. Sounds great. So I think authenticity is the answer. And sometimes what I see the tendency in a lot of business leaders is to, when things are not working out, is to double down. Okay, shit, it's not working. Come on, hustle, work harder. And
work harder. Yeah, that's always the solution that comes up, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't work. It does not work, because the reason you are telling yourself I got to work harder is a reactive reason. It's fear. Shit, I got to, oh my God, things are falling apart. Run faster, run faster. But actually the solution is, no, slow down. And then what I said earlier, check in with yourself. What are you afraid that might happen? Who are you afraid of that might know what might happen? Have the conversation, open up, share it, and you'll see it just leaves you behind. And you could do this quickly. That's why for me now, this process is done in a matter of 1 or 2 weeks. But it used to be, a while ago, used to be years. Years. And I still see people drawing behind them this baggage of, I can't tell people, man, come on, go faster, go harder, you know, make it happen. And you swim. Okay, there's the island. Just swim. And you arrive. Oh God. And then you're fine for a couple of months, maybe, you know, and you tell yourself it's all good. And then the boat starts sinking again. You're like, oh shit, here we go again. And that stuff is exhausting, man. I'm not in for it doing that again. But that's why I think the exhaustion comes in, and you'll never get out of that. You'll never get out of that unless you learn to be with what's really happening down there.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you know, it's not just the business realm. I mean, where I grew up, you know, in the special ops world, you never talked about any of this stuff. You never used the F word, you know, feelings, right? And you never admitted weakness. You never admitted that you needed help or you didn't know how to do stuff. And I've seen that in the veteran entrepreneurs that I've worked with over the years. What's great is that in the special ops community, they've realized how wrong that is, and they're doing amazing things to help these guys overcome those issues, to where they will ask for help, where they will raise their hand, whether it's suicide ideation or just struggling with something that's not quite right or whatever. they will raise their hand. Because, when I was doing that back in the day, when it was always harder and colder and darker, uh, you never wanted to leave that team. And this is where the problem, and this is one of the things I think is really cool, that they've figured out how to help guys overcome it. Because if you identified something wrong, whether it was physical or mental, you were pulled from the team. And now you've let down your team. And in the business world, it's a little bit different than that. Of course, nobody's going to die, but it's still a similar sort of feeling
Big
of,
time.
when you have that team around you,
Mm-hmm.
your employees depend on
Exactly.
your leadership and those things. If you just do something about it, whether it's a coach, an organization, a peer group, whatever, to raise your hand so that you're not feeling like, am I the only one that's doing work here? That I've heard that. I've heard that from a handful of senior leaders that I've worked with over the years that have that feeling. Am I the only one who gives a shit about the company? Am I the only one? No, you're probably not. And if you are, you've hired the wrong people. So you need to do there's a lot more to do, but, it's just, I think that parallel is an amazing thing that we have in our culture, I'm sure it goes way back to, going back into that tribal thoughts that you were mentioning, Camden, in that you don't want to show weakness in the tribe because you might be kicked out. But what's interesting is the whole purpose of the tribe is to take care of the weak members, so I'll toss that kind of out there as a little bit of soapbox, and I'll step back down off of it now. And what I'm interested in, Mario, is did you have something you want to follow on that, Cam?
No, yeah, a little bit. So one, I think, a little bit of etymology there. Look at, CEO, chief is in the word there, chief executive officer. It's not necessarily this fear of getting kicked out of the campground. Like we said earlier, culturally, I think that was true. But what we're talking about now, I think, is more so a fear of losing your status, like losing your power, that fear of loss of status. And I think that, when people talk about it's lonely at the top and all those type of things, I think it's really easy for us to, brush it off and be like, okay, well, you just need to have people you could talk to and all this kind of stuff. But honestly, this is kind of an epiphany for me as we've been talking through about the loneliness isn't like you don't have people to be around. It's not that you don't have people to go grab a beer with. Like, it's not like any of that. It's that you have these doubts that you can't express to most people around you. It's that, and I can speak from personal experience with some of my business ventures, where it's like you feel like you have to show this unwavering confidence that no matter what is going wrong, no matter okay, I'm putting it up. Very exact story with Verby doing virtual events. Hey, events tonight. Tickets are still on sale for 3 more hours though. Come on, it's gonna come. It's gonna come. Like, you have to show this confidence, even though you're looking at it, you're like, nobody bought a ticket over the last month. It's not going to all of a sudden happen today. Realistically, it's not going to happen. But it's like you feel this need to show off, or not, show off's not even the right word. Just
perform.
More
need to perform.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Perform and show that there's no doubt, because you're worried that by expressing that doubt to your team that you'll lose them. And I think that's a really interesting thing there.
Yeah. And that's exactly the essence of loneliness, because while we have so many people nowadays that we are connected to in the social media world, the worst thing I find is to be surrounded by people and still feel lonely, because you are not giving yourself permission to be seen in a new light, because that light to your own ego is a big threat. It's like, no, you can't. Like you talked about, Otis, you talked about soldiers. This is a life or death kind of thing for them. If they're showing weakness on the battlefield, if they're on the battlefield, and they all of a sudden they go, I'm feeling so lonely, like, I don't know, my mother always said that she's right. Boom, you're dead. So
I'm really stressed right now, guys.
Right. Right. So obviously it makes sense in that realm to not show weakness, and when you're in the middle of a fight and someone attacks you, you can say, hey, right now, my mental health is not, I'm just not in alignment. I just need a little meditation for myself. Shut the fuck up. Boom. you're out, So obviously there's a real reason there, but I think there's a paradigm shift happening in the world. And that paradigm shift is to be authentic and to embrace emotions, and to not to see it as a weakness, because it really is not a weakness. I'll give you an example. One of my clients that came to me, he's a CEO. He's running a real estate business. When he first came to me, he was struggling with immense self-doubt. He always anxious about, am I going to be able to keep this up? What if I don't have what it takes? All these doubts that come in. Like, I want to take it to the next level, but I don't know. I feel like I'm not operating on my full potential, but I don't know how to access it. And what I focused on with him is not, here's the strategy. Here's what you got to do. I first focused on stop being so hard on himself, because he was beating himself down to a pulp every single day. Bam, 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 bam. And I taught him how to open his heart. And then I taught him a very powerful trick, which is to actually raise your hand and ask for help. Before you ask, how do I do this? I taught him, ask, who can help me with this? So he started to become a super connector. Now I helped him. He has with someone that I connected him to, he's now built a passive income stream through an Airbnb business. He's now building multifamily units, which he said, okay, that's what I'm going to do at the end of the year. When everything is finally set, then I'm going to do it. It's like, why not now? Now he's running his podcast. He's running an Amazon business. He's running like 4 businesses all at the same time. He's the happiest ever. He's the more fulfilled, and he works a lot less. Like, if you see him on Instagram, he's now in the Grand Canyon canoeing with his fiance. He's like always out with his dog. He normally would never give him that time. He's always working 6-7 days a week. How did this happen? It happened here, not here. And it just blows my mind every time, because it's a massive success booster that so many business leaders and entrepreneurs are missing out on, simply because they're afraid to go there.
Yeah, it's amazing how I think it's Dave Ramsey loves to say that the biggest problem with your business is you, and oh, by the way, the best solution for your business is you. It's I mean, it is so much truth to that, how we can limit ourselves, we beat ourselves down, we're worried about what others think, all these sort of things, instead of just, well, what is it you want to do? And then the other piece of that, and this is one of the things I love about what I do, is when people have doubts in what they want to do, it's like, well, just do something, try it, and if you don't like it, then change it, right? I mean,
Right. You're not a tree.
If you think that going out and going for a hike with a 100-pound rucksack is something you want to do, put on a rucksack, go walk, and see if you like it. And if you like it, then do more of it, right? I mean, it's funny that it's that simple, and it's also sad that it's that simple, because we all do it. I mean, I'll do the same damn thing. Be like, I don't know. Maybe, sort of things. Right. And it's a human nature thing to doubt ourselves. Yeah. So, we can, this is amazing conversation. And what I want to know is that, I was going to say, is that a Freudian slip? I don't think so. But, but what I want to know is, maybe, I don't know, but what's next for Mario and Freedom Architect? Where are you going next?
That's a great question. So, as I said earlier, I love working one-on-one with people. I've always done one-on-one. I also love groups, more so in the offline world than in the online world. And so, I'm going to be traveling to Tulum, Mexico, where I'll be hosting workshops again. Thank God. I haven't been doing that since COVID. So I'm really excited about that. And down the line, my next big things are going to be my own retreats. And then there's a TV show on the horizon, which I'm planning, which is going to be in the realm of mental health, to create more awareness and solutions, simple, effective solutions around mental health. I just had this conversation with a client of mine. He's been he's one of my biggest challenges as clients, because I got him to see on day one what it is, why he's struggling, and it's because he's living an inauthentic life. And he continued to go back, and I continued to like, look, that's what you're doing. Are you aware of it? Yeah, but this time's like, okay, keep doing it. And so now he went so far to go to a psychiatrist, and they got him to prescribe, oh yeah, you're depressed, and you got this, and you got this, and you got this. And I said, really? You're depressed? I was like, you're still repressing your own authentic drive for your life. You still haven't said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to live this life. So I said, okay, go for it. You know how I think, but that's just my personal view. You are entitled to your view. And so he keeps on going. But, today we actually figured out that what brings joy to his life is helping other people and teaching them music. And so, and I said, do you feel depressed when you do that? I said, the opposite. And there's your medicine. So do that. And so, I want to help people to have more simple solutions, because I cured a severe depression that led me close to suicide, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, addiction to party drugs, without ever seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist. I cured it all myself. And, I went back to then those old circles where the people were partying, and they were presenting me with a mountain of cocaine and say, come on, Mario, we haven't been partying forever. Come on. And I looked at it and I'm like, no, thanks. And there was no, come on, dude, no one will know, just do it. Just one, nothing. It was just, no, thank you. And I felt so good. And I told this a psychiatrist once that I met at an event, and she said, oh, that's bullshit. That's not possible. Your brain is now wired. You will have that craving. I said, no, I don't. Because there's something much more powerful. It's called purpose that overrides everything. I now know why I'm here. I have something that I'm willing to die for. That's it, and anyone can have this. So I think bringing more of that into the mainstream and showing people that, hey, there's a solution for you to not having to go through a year of therapy. Some people might need that. That's okay. I'm not here to judge it, but there are solutions there that you can apply like this. So that's coming from me, stepping more into the public domain, saying, ladies and gentlemen, we all need freedom. We all want it. Here are some ways and you can get it for you.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited to see more of this and see how it goes, and hopefully get to sit in the corner of a couple of those workshops or whatever in the future. So yeah,
I'll be happy to have you there.
Yeah, this has been great, Mario. I really appreciate your time. So our favorite part of the show, and what'd you learn? And man, as with all shows, I feel like sometimes I'm sitting here looking back through my notes and trying to pick out one. Well, I'm just going to steal this from Camden, because I bet you this is what he's going to say, is the degree trap. I love that, and I'm going to have to use that with my veterans that I'm working with, because man, it is so, because the military, you do this is the military is so linear in everything that you do for promotion, right? And you got to go to this school in order to get promoted. So these guys and gals are all coming out just like I did, with that same belief that, hey, in order to do this, I got to have this certification. I got to go to it. And yeah, it is truthfully a degree trap. And I bet, what, Camden, in your demographic age group, that's another thing. How many friends do you have that are,
it's,
gotta get their
when
MBA.
people talk about like student debt and those type of things, I think a lot of the pictures that people draw on it is these, like, and I'm going to say this, it's a little mean, but like the more like useless majors, the ones that there's no jobs in that. And then I think the other side of it is the people who just assume that the next piece of paper guarantees a bigger paycheck without doing their homework. It's like, okay, hey, I got my bachelor's degree in business. I got this job making, $35,000 a year, feeling pretty good about myself out of college. It's like, all right, so now what am I going to do next? Well, I got to get a master's so I can make $45,000 a year. And it just runs down this cycle, and they're never actually stopping to do the math and think things through. So yeah, no, I got to say though, that wasn't mine today. I'll go ahead and segue into it. That was a big one. I know.
What'd you learn, Camden?
So what I was really thinking about was actually, I guess, the other side of that problem, which was what you were talking about, Mario, of having no certification and not having a problem not having that certification. I know there was a lot of negatives there, but the anecdote that I think will help paint this for a lot of people is I think back to Dad, we talk about all the time, Uncle Ben on his farm, getting me my start with agriculture. And back then he was a certified like grade C organic or something along those lines, because in order to be grade B or grade A, you had to pay the state of Texas, I think it was $2,500 a month to come out every single month and check your farm to make sure you're organic. So yeah, it's crazy. And so instead of doing that, he stayed at grade C and did what you were talking about, Mario, and said to every single person, come see the farm. I am more organic than the organic stuff you buy in the grocery store. This is an actual real farm doing old school stuff. He doesn't even have a freaking tractor. He does it all with horses. But he would go out and tell people, look, I'm not certified at that level, but I know that I'm better. And it's putting that confidence, that authentic confidence into the value of your products. And I think that's what people find so, so convincing, I guess, when you're in that kind of a situation.
Yeah. And to this day, a single person has asked me about my certifications as a prospective coaching client, and told her, and then she said, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I already sent her the contract. She signed it. And then before making the payment, she said, okay, I thought about it again. I don't want to do it. And I was like, thank you, God. This saved me a lot of trouble here. That was the only person ever. No one ever asked me at all, whether it was a professional realm where I hosted workshops or one-on-one coachings, never ever. But one of the things I often get from people is they say this to me. It's like, Mario, I want you to know that I also spoke with a few other coaches on the side, but I chose you. And I said, oh, that's amazing. I feel very honored. Why? And I always ask why. And I said, well, because you always talk about purpose and you tell me why you do this. And I tell people, it's like, I want to change the world. I want to help every human being on planet Earth have freedom. How do we do this? By empowering more leaders to step into their gift, because leaders inspire others. We are the people that inspire other people. So we need more of us to step up so more people can see us shining brighter. And when people hear that and I say, I want to raise the consciousness of humanity, they're like, oh, damn, this guy's serious. This guy's not just saying, I like people and I like helping other people have more success. Great thing. And then they're like, oh, shit, I want to be part of that gang. Okay, sign me up. So that's the thing that inspires people to the core. And obviously, you got to be really good at what you do, because if you're selling some sort of a bullshit product or service, don't do it. Definitely get more training.
Mario, by the way, that's great. What'd you learn, brother?
Oh, I want to say that I learned that how beautiful it is to see that it's possible that a father and a son can co-create something that provides meaning and value to the world. I never thought about that. Like, if I think about me and my dad hosting a show about this, oh God, no, that would never work. But I think it's amazing. So I feel very inspired by thinking about the idea that a family can do something together like this and do it in a way that's done really beautifully. So I feel inspired by your example.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that. Where can people link up with you, find you, learn more, connect with you, those sort of things?
Yes. So the best way to connect with me is LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm very active on both platforms. And if you're a business leader and you are dealing with stress and you feel that things are not moving forward in the way that you want to have them move forward, you want to create more income for your business, you want to also make a greater impact in the lives of your clients, in the lives of your family, in your community, you want to step up, be a more powerful leader, and do so not by overworking yourself, but actually have more free time, more freedom, I'm your guy. Reach out to me. I can help you with that.
Awesome, man. Hey, this has been great, Mario. I feel part two coming on in the not so distant future. No doubt in my mind about that. Yeah. Thanks again for your time, man. We really appreciate it. I know it's getting into the evening time for you over there in Hanover, but we really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us and share some of your story and share the lessons, man. There's some great lessons. So do appreciate that. Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's show. Special thanks to our guest, Mario Lanzarotti, and our sponsor, Tribe and Purpose. Find your tribe, find your purpose. You can check out recent episodes of The Cam and Otis Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and check out a full archive at thecamandotisshow.buzzsprout.com. The Cam and Otis Show is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next week.